But we're gonna do it together, Ken. Every time you see me, I keep telling you the same thing. We're gonna do it together. If we do it together, it's gonna change. We'll change. It's just.
I don't know. Yeah, I came down earlier. I see Brian in the back.
Kevin,
Come here.
how are you, buddy?
Doing great day.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Ray, you kicking us off?
Let's go.
You all right? I think you can include Dwayne won the Heisman Trophy.
The Nobel laureate? That's right. That's right.
Let me say hello to these guys.
He's the right one. It's just what he needed to get him to that next part.
Just check one thing before you start. Okay, sounds good.
Well,
Okay. Why don't you come in here a little bit? Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the MMC, the Meadowlands Maintenance Complex here at New Jersey Transit. I'm Ray Greaves, Chairman of the Amalgamated Transit Union, and I have the honor and privilege today of introducing the governor of the great state of New Jersey. But before I do, I just want to give a big shout out to all the men and women at New Jersey Transit, the hardworking men and women of all unions, on the SMART union on the rail side, the ATU on the bus side. We come together and we're going to make this company great again because of the leadership we have up here with us today. So, with that, I want to introduce the guy who I call the transportation governor. He has come here to New Jersey, took over New Jersey Transit, brought in new leadership with Diane Scassetti and Kevin Corbett, brought on a new team. It's a new day here at New Jersey Transit, and you're going to hear some things today that are astonishing. And it's because of the governor's leadership and his administration and the hardworking men and women at New Jersey Transit. So please welcome the transportation governor, the best governor in the country, our governor, Phil Murphy.
Woo! Doesn't get any better than that, man. Hard to know what to say to live up to that, Ray. Bayonne's finest. Good morning, everybody. Sorry we're a couple minutes behind. Before I get to the reason why we're all here, I want to make some quick comments on two unrelated matters. And then I'll come back and throw some hosannas and homage in Ray's and other folks' direction. First, I want to recognize the retirement of longtime, one of my favorites in terms of as a reader, longtime Star Ledger reporter and columnist Mark Diano, whose last piece ran in yesterday's print editions. Mark told the story of New Jersey through the eyes of our great people. His love for his home state and its characters was evident. His knowledge of our history, especially his efforts to have our critical role in the Revolutionary War recognized. He and I spoke on the phone a couple of months ago on this very topic. Especially his sense and knowledge of our history was unmatched by any other columnist. He always said he loved being a newspaperman, and it showed in his words. I will miss seeing his photo and his byline. We all wish him the very best in his future writings, and I know that we haven't read the last of him. Second, I want to acknowledge the decision made Saturday evening by the legislative leadership to pull the proposed redistricting amendment from consideration. This was, amen. This was quite simply the right thing to do. We don't need to rig the system. We need to, in fact, further open up the system. Expanding opportunities for our residents to vote is how we strengthen democracy. Earlier this year, I was proud to enact one of the nation's strongest automatic voter registration laws. But that should be just the start of our efforts. I stand ready and able and willing to work with legislative leaders to do things like to establish true early in-person voting, to restore full voting rights for those currently on probation or parole, to allow for same-day voter registration at the polls and for online voter registration, and to let 17-year-olds register and vote in our primaries if they will be 18 by the November election. I know we can do this, and if we take the same commitment to this that some took to the proposed amendment, there's no reason we can't have these reforms in place for the 2019 election cycle. This is how we can best strengthen our democracy and uphold our democratic values. So thank you for giving me a chance to address each of those. Hello, Al. We're in your hometown, man. So I gotta. Good morning again, everybody. Ray, thank you so much for that introduction, for your support, for your unwavering friendship, and to you and the great men and women of not just the ATU, but certainly the ATU, but your sister unions. NJ Smart is in the house in a big way. Yeah. For all that you all do to keep NJ Transit moving. It is, even in the darkest days, and this is something I had to keep saying over not just the past 11 months, but in the campaign, it wasn't the fault of the working men and women who were going to work every day, giving it their all at NJ Transit. It was a failure of leadership from the very top. It wasn't on the backs of the working men and women. And now, thank goodness, we're here to help as partners with you going forward. I want to reiterate Ray's welcome to NJ Transit's Meadows Maintenance Complex. I'm incredibly proud to be here with a whole passel of elected officials. I'll begin, and you'll hear from them, by two extraordinary public servants, Congressman Bill Pascrell and Congressman Albio Ceres. I'm also thrilled to be here with NJ Transit Chair and DOT Commissioner Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti. Diane, always an honor. And NJ Transit Executive Director Kevin Corbett's in the house. Kevin, well done. We've got mayors and councilmen from all over the place. I will not go through each of their names, but it's an incredible honor that you're here. But I do have to give Al Santos a shout out because he's our host mayor today. So Al, thank you so much for hosting us. And we're all going to help after this, when we break the cameras down, we'll help Vic DeLuca celebrate his birthday all the way in from Maplewood. So Vic, happy birthday, buddy. And to so many other folks here who matter and keep the thing going. Janet Chernitz is here, who was with us from Tri-State Transportation, who was with us a couple of weeks ago. He's done great work. Doug O'Malley is here representing not just the transportation interests, but as a reminder, the extent to which we get NJ Transit into fighting shape. We take cars off the road and we salvage our environment. So Doug, to you and your colleagues, thank you. I am proud to announce that installation of positive train control in the required 282 locomotives and cab cars and wayside installations along 326 miles of track is now done. Yeah. Where we were only at 12% toward meeting the year-end requirement when our administration came into office 11 months ago yesterday, today we are at 100%. 1 year ago, this upcoming Thursday at the Frank R. Lautenberg Station in Secaucus, I introduced Diane as our nominee to serve as Commissioner of Transportation, and together that day we pledged to make restoring NJ Transit our top priority. Then we added Kevin to our team after a multi-decade extraordinary career in the private sector. And the three of us knew going in that the first major hurdle would be completing the installation of positive train control by the December 31st, 2018 federal deadline. The prior administration's efforts on PTC installation had dragged interminably for quite literally years, despite everyone knowing this deadline was looming and the consequences if it was missed, and the consequences were dire. But then that administration knew they wouldn't be around for that. 12% completion in the almost 9 years since Congress enacted the mandate requiring PTC be installed. I think dragged may be too charitable a verb. Commuter safety took a backseat to cronyism. Service and reliability were sacrificed for frankly no good reason. That's the legacy we inherited, in which Diane, Kevin, and I came in to clean up. Meeting the PTC deadline needed to become not just a top priority, but an obsession, and it did. A lot of that work took place right here. This is one of 3 locations where PTC installation work was done. Now, what this announcement means to customers is that NJ Transit can now focus its energies on improving communications and conditions and on-time reliability and service. Kevin and Diane know that I will keep pressing on this. There is no time for anyone to rest on any laurels. Getting PTC installed was just one in a series of steps that we must take. NJ Transit's board has approved the purchase of 113 new double-decker rail cars to decrease overcrowding and increase commuter comfort. We continue to push to improve customer communications and to instill a commuter-first work ethic guided by the mantra we spoke about a couple of weeks ago: engage, inform, improve, agency-wide. Diane, Kevin, and I also remain committed to making the structural management reforms necessary to ensure more efficient and effective administration. I thank the legislature for working with us on this, and the reform package scheduled to be voted on today and in both the Senate and the Assembly is essential to our shared goal. All of this is what will get us to our goal of better customer-oriented service. I will not let up on this for 1 second, and I know Diane and Kevin and their team won't either. To make 2019 a year of continued rebuilding and progress, we have identified a new Vice President and General Manager of Rail, subject, I might add, to board approval, Ray Kenny. Ray is a well-respected professional who has served in all levels of the rail industry in both the public and private sectors, including 40 years at the Long Island Railroad, where he served as Senior Vice President for Transportation and Facilities Planning and as Senior Vice President for Operations and Chief Transportation Officer. Ray will bring a new perspective and vision to NJ Transit's rail operations. I'll let Kevin talk a little bit more about Ray, but our mission to improve NJ Transit will be strengthened with the board's approval of his addition to Kevin's executive management team. Make no mistake, completing the required PTC installation with 2 weeks to spare before the federal government's deadline is a major milestone. Under Diane's and Kevin's leadership and through the tireless work of the NJ Transit crews and contractors at the maintenance yards here and elsewhere, approximately 4 years of work has been completed in less than 1. And there is still more work to be done to have PTC fully operational by December 31st, 2020. There are more hills to climb, but we've just climbed by far the biggest. Our commitment to this part of the process, I hope, sends a strong signal to commuters and NJ Transit's dedicated staff that we are listening to them and working as hard as possible to get things right at every level. It is now my honor to hand the podium over to a guy, if only he were in charge of the way Congress worked, think of the better day it would be, Congressman, the one and the only, Bill Pascrell.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be in Kearney, Mayor. And with my brother Albio, we split this city. I think a railroad track splits my part from his part. Not quite?
A little bit farther north.
A little bit farther north.
Bill, I just want to walk into my district.
Thank you. I knew you were going to say that. So after
years of being behind in our schedule, put it mildly, meeting the federal deadline for installing this positive train control technology along New Jersey Transit rail line shows transit passengers that safety is priority number one. And you go throughout the 50 states, and you go through the Congress, and you will conclude that when it comes to pipeline safety, highway safety, rail safety, it's put on the back burners. In fact, many times when we put the axe to the budget, they're the first to get hit. The Rail Safety Improvement Act of 2008, which Albio Series had a great deal to do with, required the implementation of the PTC on railroads which carry passengers or hazardous materials. It was the NTSB that identified PTC as the right technology to prevent incidents caused by train operator or dispatcher error. The original deadline, as the governor said, was 2015. Congress saw that railroads were not going to come close to meeting that deadline and delayed it. We put a lot of pressure from our delegation to make sure that happened to December 31st, 2018. And here we are, 2 weeks to go. After the deadly Amtrak accident outside Philadelphia in May of 2015, I formally questioned New Jersey Transit on their PTC schedule back in 2015 in a letter to then Executive Director Ronnie Hakem. I've been concerned since that time that preparation was minimal and that progress was slow. I thank Governor Murphy for getting the agency back to track to meet the deadline. We have commuters across the country, and especially in New Jersey with the largest public system, who rely on our transit system. They need to feel safe on our trains and on their tracks. That is why I was proud to work with my New Jersey delegation colleagues to secure the $10 million federal grant to support the PTC installation in 2017. I expect PTC can reduce the number of incidents due to excessive speed, conflicting train movements, engineer failure to obey signals, and start restoring New Jerseyans' confidence in our public transit. And we are doing that today. While there are miles to go to repair the damage from years of agency neglect, Governor Murphy deserves commendation for his attention on improving New Jersey transit, and be assured of the entire delegation's support on moving to the next step, Governor.
Thank you.
We must again have the first-class mass transit system that New Jersey deserves. And let me tell you something. I want to congratulate the folks who worked here for many years, our unions, our contractors, our executive director now, are all in place. And I have confidence that we're going to meet every other deadline that comes before us. And by the time we're finished, this system will be worthy of the money that we fight for down in Washington, because it needs it to sustain itself. God bless New Jersey Transit. God bless our entire rail system. God bless all of you for having confidence in our governor. Thank you.
Congressman, thank you so much for that. I cannot thank you enough for your support. Interestingly enough, and these guys were both there, a week ago today, we had a big summit between our offices and the congressional delegation, the newly formed congressional delegation. And these guys will attest to this, that the overwhelming topic of interest by all of us was infrastructure and transportation. So it was the Gateway Tunnel, it was the Portal Bridge, it was moving people and things around. People, most importantly. And we couldn't have better advocates fighting on our behalf than we have in our delegation. We are in his district, another guy who goes down to Washington every day to represent our interests, who's in it for the right reasons. Honored to introduce Congressman Albio Series.
Good morning, everyone. Governor, thank you very much. Members, the union members here, my colleague, Bill, and Mayor, nice to have you here. You know, recognizing that New Jersey is one big transportation hub, I became a member of the Transportation Committee. And I can't tell you, Governor, how happy I am that we have met this target. Because every time Amtrak came before our committee, they always said that we're only up to 12%, that we're never going to make it, that we're not going to get there, you're not going to be able to use the tracks. And you have come along, and what was not done in 9 years, you have done with your team in a year. And I can't wait before Amtrak comes before our committee this year, when we have the majority, so I can tell them exactly where we are. You know, safety has always been a big issue with me, especially transportation. Coming from probably the most densely populated area in the country and people using mass transit all the time, it is key and it's important and it's necessary that we have safety in our transportation system. I am hopeful that as we take the majority, I already have spoken with coming Chairman DeFazio, that infrastructure, transportation infrastructure along with everything else, is going to be a priority. America needs that money to fix our infrastructure. We are so far behind the rest of the world sometimes in some of these countries. You know, I traveled to some of these countries to check some of the systems, and I was always very impressed with the rail system. And this positive train control has been installed in many countries. And I would see the train coming, and I would see our train slow down. I'd be in the cockpit. I said, my God, why can't we have that in our country? So I'm very happy to say that with this team that we have now, we have met our target. Hopefully, we'll continue to be not on target, but earlier than we're supposed to, and finish this before the 2020. And we'll continue to work together. I'm just very thrilled to have the delegation that we have. We have 11 out of the 12 members now in New Jersey from the same party. Some of them are going to wind up on transportation because everybody knows how important it is. So, Governor, thank you again. Thank you, New Jersey Transit. Thank you, all the members of the unions here, for a job well done. Thank you.
Thanks, Elvia. Congressman makes a very valid point that this part of the state is the densest, and we are the densest state in the nation. So we're the fourth smallest geographically. We're the densest. We sit beside the largest market in the world in New York. We sit beside one of the fastest growing markets in the country in Philadelphia. Moving folks around in the state or between our state and neighboring states is not optional. It's at the very core of our economic and societal viability. So thank you both for everything you guys do on our behalf. It is now my honor to introduce our Department of Transportation Commissioner, the chair of the NJ Transit Board, Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti.
Thanks, everyone. A lot's been said, and I'm probably going to repeat a little bit of it, but I don't think we can say it enough. Governor, thank you so much. Today, we recognize a milestone in achievement for New Jersey Transit. 11 months ago, this administration faced a crisis at NJ Transit. One of its most important safety initiatives and an unfunded federal mandate was on life support. Positive train control was in bad shape. 12% complete, 11 months to achieve criteria for an extension, and no one betting on New Jersey Transit to succeed. But with the hard work of the people of New Jersey Transit and the renewed commitment of Parsons Transportation Group and its subcontractor, we put our foot on the accelerator and we never looked back. And here we are today. We have a long way to go, and while we can ease up on the accelerator, we cannot and we will not stop. On behalf of the board, our deepest gratitude to the governor for standing with us, our continued thanks to the hardworking women and men of New Jersey Transit who worked tirelessly to help us meet this criteria, and mostly to our customers for their continued patience as we work to complete this task and return New Jersey Transit to its full potential as a leading transit agency in the U.S. Thank you.
Well said. Once a week, unannounced. I took it this morning, Kevin. It was right on time. Red Bank to Newark in this case. So.
Video positioning on your app, sir.
That's a fair point. I should think about that. It was mentioned earlier by the congressman, and Diane, thank you so much for your leadership, that the easiest thing to cut is the long-term safety stuff, because it isn't, you don't have a deadline looming in your face. And the federal government, Bill, you refer to this, does it all the time, and unfortunately we did it in the past in this state, and that can't be the case. The other point is that this is a huge accomplishment, but I don't want folks to think that this afternoon they're going to walk out on the platform and everything is solved. I'm going to stay on this organization morning, noon, and night to make sure the customer experience, not just the safety, but the reliability, the comfort, the entire commuting experience becomes, again, best in the nation. And I am completely convinced we will get there. And we'll get there in many respects with a great board and a great management team led by, and I'm proud to introduce him, Executive Director Kevin Corbett. Kevin?
Thank you. Happy morning indeed for a Monday. Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Governor. When people say to me they don't envy the position I'm in, I tell them actually I'm quite fortunate. Seriously, I have a governor and transportation commissioner who have committed the necessary resources and support New Jersey Transit to put us in a position to succeed. One of those successes is reaching this PTC critical milestone. There were some difficult decisions that had to be made as we ramped up our vehicle and wayside installation schedule to meet the federal PTC requirements. Decisions that we know had an impact on our customers, and our customers are the heart of everything we do, and I most importantly want to thank them. Their patience and understanding are part of the reason why we're able to make this announcement today. I would be remiss if I didn't also thank the FRA for their technical guidance. It has been invaluable throughout these last 10 months, and my sincere thanks to Ron Batory and his team for their support. I'd also like to thank all of our rail partners, including Amtrak, Metro North, Conrail, Norfolk Southern, and the short lines for the continued cooperation. This was integral to meeting our requirements and will be equally important going forward over the next 2 years. But it is really the hard work of New Jersey Transit employees assigned to this project, including those who worked at this very facility where vehicle installations have been ongoing, along with our consultants and their teams at the 2 other facilities in Piscataway and Morristown that really deserve much of the credit. And you have 3 examples of it right behind you of the 3 different type of vehicles. I have to admit that when I first arrived, the chances of making this milestone look extremely slim, frankly nearly impossible. And what many of our customers may not know, in addition to facing significant daily fines for failing to meet our year-end requirements and damage to our reputation, there was a real possibility that we would not have been able to operate service on January 1st. Many of you have heard me refer to this project as Project Seabiscuit, the underdog horse who won when no one else thought it could. Well, in keeping with that horse racing analogy, this accomplishment is akin to winning the Kentucky Derby. It's a great achievement, but it's only one leg of the Triple Crown. We still have to win the Preakness and Belmont Stakes over the next 2 years to declare victory. Throughout the next 2 years, we'll finish installing PTC equipment on the remaining 158 locomotives and cab cars. We'll continue advancing our testing so that we may enter into the full revenue service demonstration phase and ensure that our PTC system is interoperable with all the other railroads which our service intersects, such as the freights, Metro North, and Amtrak. While today we have reason to celebrate this milestone, we are not stopping and we are not slowing down until we have achieved full PTC implementation and receive final FRA certification prior to the end of 2020. And this pursuit to achieve full PTC implementation and certification will continue to require strong leadership. To that end, I am pleased to announce the selection of Ray Kenny as Vice President and General Manager of New Jersey Transit's rail operations, subject to board approval. Ray Kenny has over 45 years of railroad experience and rose through the ranks of the industry, starting as a ticket clerk in the early 1970s before ultimately serving as the head of MTA's Long Island Railroad. Ray has worked at all levels of the LIR organization and is an experienced professional with a demonstrated ability to lead teams of employees in passenger rail operations, training and labor relationship, projects and infrastructure management, and project coordination. During his most recent years as a consultant at WSP, working for the Connecticut Department of Transportation, Ray has provided leadership, direction, and management of all facets of transit operations and project planning, particularly the new New Haven to Hartford service. Ray's extensive background in rail operations will be invaluable in our quest to rebuild New Jersey Transit and to make the tangible improvements our rail customers deserve. I would like to also thank Acting Vice President and GM Ed Baxa for his hard work and dedication through some very challenging times. Look at that smile on Ed's face. I am very pleased that Ed will remain with us as an important part of our rail operations management team. While PTC implementation will remain a priority for the next 2 years until it's fully operational, we're going to continue our focus on improving the customer experience in 2019. There are 4 locomotive engineer training classes expected to graduate in 2019, 1 in May, 2 in October, and another in December. This will result in an incremental, though tangible, improvement for our customers as the year progresses. A sufficient number of engineers on the roster translate directly to service reliability, and the pipeline of new engineers will remain full going forward after that. The continued rollout of the communications reorganization that we announced will also in 2019 will improve customers' access to timely and accurate service information. This includes the introduction of the Customer Experience Unit to monitor and assess customer touchpoints throughout the system to identify and address deficiencies before they become an issue for customers. We will continue to invest in and leverage technology to improve the delivery of customer information, such as the recently released mobile app update that allows customers to customize their transit service alerts and receive push notifications. And I would be in trouble with the boss if I didn't remind everyone, please go to the website, njtransit.com, and follow the prompts and get the, please download the app, and if you have the app, make sure you get the push notifications. It is a real benefit. These are just a few of the reasons to be excited about 2019. Again, while many of these improvements will be incremental over the course of next year, we are by no means declaring mission accomplished. It is important to know that we're moving New Jersey Transit forward for our customers. We did what many thought was impossible. We met our year-end 2018 federal PTC requirements because we were committed to it. There should be no doubt that we'll restore New Jersey Transit to a customer-focused national role model in public transit because we are committed to it. Thank you.
I think I'm concerned about all the stuff that's not getting done by taking up everybody's time today, but we should take a few questions and then we'll all get back to work, please.
First of all,
thank you for the microphone.
You and others have mentioned the fact that we've met the PTC requirement for 2018, but the system is not fully operational. Could somebody lay out specifically what does this mean? If a conductor has a sleep apnea issue or there's something broken, is a train going to stop? What works and what doesn't?
I'll let Kevin answer the question, but I want to just sort of the frame is there are several mountains, I said hills, I believe, several mountains to climb. We've climbed the biggest, and we still have work to do over the next couple of years. I'll let Kevin describe what that work looks like and to answer your question specifically.
Sure. The importance of having all the equipment installed. Now the next phase is called, we're doing what's called field functionality testing now, which we've been doing for months. And the next phase, which is where we filed for on Friday to the FRA, allows us to do our what we call revenue service demonstration, RSD, that all the railroads are doing. So it's installed, we'll be testing it, but we won't be dependent on it exclusively. It does not work fully for most of the railroads. We are all in the test. Most of us are in the testing phase. I think one or two maybe are finished that. So everyone's testing it, but they have the ability to override if you get bad signals or anomalies.
What % of it is operational? What % of it is working now? 100%? No.
No.
90%? 50%?
Until you get certified, even if a railroad is doing it, until you get certified by the FRA, that you're 100%, then you're in the testing phase. So it's not a percent in testing, you're testing. You may have several runs that are perfect, you may have a run that sends a glitch, a slow down signal, something like that. So until you get to the point that you say, okay, our testing is to where it is flawless, then you go to the FRA and get the certification. Right. And all the railroads have till December 2020. It could take whatever period of time, but the deadline, which says by Congress, there's no exception, is December 2020. And we do look to, and we do not want to get FRA a Christmas present on December. We tend to do that beforehand.
I would just say, that, reiterate, underscore something Kevin just said. We went from last in the pack, now we're with the pack. We're with a whole bunch of rail systems around the country in this testing phase. And that's where we needed to be, that's where we should be, and that's where we are. Please. I don't know if we still doing the mic, or I can come to you.
Yeah, I'll grab the mic. Hi. 2 questions. The first one is on funding. That's steady funding for daily operations remains a problem. What are your plans for that? And number 2, when can commuters see a difference in terms of when the trains will arrive as scheduled, as they're standing there on the platform?
So on funding, I think Diane and I are having a broad transportation funding sit down this afternoon, and we're early stages on our budget. So it's too early to tell, but we didn't come this far to now walk away. Let's put it that way. By nature of the beast, when you had to pull all of these cars off, the good news was we achieved an enormously difficult deadline to achieve. The challenging news was by pulling them off in combination with an engineering cohort that had been allowed to dwindle over the prior administration, we had disruptions to service. So the fact of the matter is, with both going in the right direction, we are going to begin to be able to push back on that. So you've got these cars and cabs and trains that were pulled off. They're now going to be back in service. As Kevin said, we have 4 scheduled classes for engineers in 2019 versus either 1 or none in the past administration, depending on the year you picked. And by the way, we're also going outside of New Jersey to find engineers. All of that will begin to evidence itself, but I think it's fair to say it's not a magic moment. There isn't tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, are you going to have a dramatically different. This is going to be an incremental step by step in the right direction, and I'm going to stay on this like a hawk.
If I could just follow, are you certain all of the engineers in those classes are going to come to work for NJ Transit?
I am not qualified to answer that, but I'll ask someone who is qualified.
Brenda, we sure hope so, but like anything else, people make up their own minds. What we're doing is working to improve the graduation rate of those classes, certainly giving them the encouragement to work for transit. I don't necessarily think they'd come for the training we're offering if they didn't intend to work for us, so I'm very hopeful. I think the way the governor talked to you about where we are, we had 282 cars that have been outfitted. We probably have about 150. So if we took 250 cars off the rails in 1 year, we have 2 years to finish outfitting about 150 cars. So hopefully they'll see cars return to service slowly. Progress is incremental, that's the message. Progress is incremental. It's not wake up, as the governor said, one day and it's done. Incremental over the next several months, they should see progress. We have a class graduating second quarter of this year. Again, keep adding to the pipeline. So we're just asking for continued patience, as we said earlier.
Brenda, I'm so focused on engineers that I've actually instructed Dan Bryan to enter the next class. Will he stay? That's the good. You should ask him. Will he then ultimately work for NJ Transit? Good question. I also want to say we took down the Atlantic City line. We will put that back up. We've got to get FRA to approve that. We don't know yet when. That requires improvement. We cut down weekend services online. We're committed to get that back up and running and get this back to full punching weight. And we will. It won't be tomorrow, but we will, and we're going to stay on it. Trust me.
Governor,
apologies.
Customers during this phase experienced last-minute cancellations while they got up to the platform. Will that happen during the next phase, or how is that being, planned for?
I'll let Kevin and Diane address that, but I'll give you 2 comments. Number 1, Kevin talked about this push app. Can I ask again that everybody, is it njtransit.com? NJTransit.com if you're watching. Go on, sign up. A push app, there's nothing like a push app, because if your train is late or there's some reason that some issue with it, you will be notified. You won't have to go find that information. That's a big deal. njtransit.com to get that push app. Secondly, broad answer from me, to incorporate what I said to Brenda already in terms of both PTC and engineers. I'm not suggesting we have a magic moment, but all of what's being done here means that the incidences of what's been going on should be reduced. I want to come back, though, to the congressman in the meeting we had last Monday. We have to get the Portal Bridge project going. We need the Trump administration to fund that. We must get the Trump administration to fund the Gateway Tunnel. I am completely confident that with the management team and board oversight, the funding, the increasing of the engineers class, the enormous progress on PTC, the purchase of new cars, that which we can control, we will control. We need the federal government now to come along and help alleviate some of the challenges that are outside of our control. Would you add anything? I think we got it. Okay, please.
Governor.
Right behind you. Sorry, Brian. I didn't see the microphone, and I bemoan the fact that we were giving you a mic. Ryan, you're going to take it home with you.
There are roughly about 158 cars left to do between now and 2020. How is that going to affect customers as far as train cancellations, delays, and other issues that they've been dealing with?
Is it 158?
Actually, it's down to 150 today. But
150. I'll just give you a quick math answer. We did 282 in 11 months, just under 11 months. And so we've got just over 24 months to do 150. And I don't think, Kevin, you or your team, or Diane, you want to wait till Christmas of 2020. So you should see a much softer, steady, much softer impact as a result of this. Ryan.
Thank you, Governor. I heard you talk about voting expansion, but what about the redistricting process itself? Do you think after all this that there is room for some kind of reform or improvements to how redistricting is done in New Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, I've said from the get-go when this thing showed up on Thanksgiving Eve, and frankly, we had thought a lot about this before, any process that is in the direction of less political, more transparent, more inclusive, count me as open-minded, if not embracing. Before you got here, I went through a bunch of steps that we got automatic voter registration, which I'm thrilled about. But there's a lot more we can do. We should have, and these guys live this because they're up every 2 years. Why are we only having 1 day of physical voting in New Jersey when so many other states have it for, I'd like to see 30 days? What happens if you have bad weather? What happens if you've got a train that breaks down on election day? So that's a big one for me. Ex-offenders is a big one. Online registration, 17-year-olds at the primary, 18 years at the November general election. There are a lot of steps that I want to take, and I want to work with the legislative leadership to get there.
But redistricting is not a priority then, it sounds like.
No, redistricting is a priority. I'm completely of the opinion that the voters ought to pick the legislators, and the legislators shouldn't be picking the voters. And that's what that plan that was just pulled back would have done. If there's anything within the redistricting piece, not just the broader opening of democracy, that is more transparent, more inclusive, less political, I am wide open for suggestions and to working. Please.
So, Governor, this project went for 9 years and that line was flat. Then all of a sudden it went to 12% by the time you took over. How did it go from 12% to 100% in 11 months? Because nothing in the state of New Jersey happens very fast. It never has, and up until this point, this is the first time I've ever seen it.
Maybe outstanding leadership? Oh, sorry.
I'm an impatient woman.
I mean, we literally, if you saw the innards of our communications and our team's communications, we have been, to say we've been laser focused on this, because there's a cliff. If you didn't get it done, you're out of business. And as I said earlier, I'll incorporate my prior reference, my prior comments by reference in terms of our density and the need to move people around. We just had no choice. And I want to also say, related to that we're not putting our feet up when we walk out of here today. We're going to stay, likewise, I will stay laser focused on NJ Transit to make sure that not just the balance of PTC gets done, but also the engineering classes do get built. We do hire them. That the commuter experience becomes best in the nation. We have no less an objective than that. Maybe one more, please.
What's your reaction to the federal judge in Texas declaring Obamacare unconstitutional?
Ridiculous. First, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm told by folks who are. I'll give one more to Elise down here. I apologize. Ridiculous. I'm not a lawyer. I'm told it is riddled with inconsistencies. It's overreaching. I want to make sure everybody realizes, if you're watching, the Affordable Care Act is alive and well as we stand here, and God willing, it'll remain so. So I assume this is going to get appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. In the meantime, it has been a huge game changer in New Jersey. The millions of folks with pre-existing conditions. I could go through a whole bunch of other statistics, but that's the group that I think about most often. The enrollment period ended at midnight on Saturday. We were down going into the last week. I don't know where we ended up, but health care for all, health care as a right, not a privilege, continues to be our guiding light. Do you guys want to, Bill or Albio, you want to say anything about Congress's?
Albio and I are committed to making sure that the ACA...
You want to come to the...
Albio and I are committed to the ACA working. As a member of the Ways and Means Committee, we have put in over 70 amendments which were never voted upon, or when voted upon, had no support from the other side. There is no perfect legislation that we ever present. That's not a big hello this morning. But the fact of the matter is we're trying to make the changes where it is necessary. And now that we got one foot up anyway in the House, we're going to continue to try that. No one said it's a perfect document, but it certainly has helped a hell of a lot of people, and the data shows that.
Amen. Albio.
I can tell you that you're not going to have 67 votes to kill the Affordable Care Act in the next session, like we had in the last couple of sessions. This is what they were doing. It is completely ridiculous what they've done in Texas for making this decision. My district alone, I think we have about 140,000 people that are getting health care.
Yep, that otherwise wouldn't, right?
They would not.
Yep. Elise, you have one?
A couple of reporters have asked this, but I didn't really hear a clear answer. You still have roughly 150 cars to do.
Yep.
But there will also be testing going on at the same time. So can you give us some idea of what commuters can expect in the next 2 years? Will there be cutbacks to service? Will we see, another instance where there's so many cars out of service that we can't make all the trains run on time again?
I think I gave you the broad brush answer. I'll ask Kevin and Diane to come up and give you a little bit. The math is in our favor. So 282 over 11 months, 150 over 24 and a half months. Those are odds that we like a lot better in the second instance. The testing goes on as a dynamic matter as the system is running. So that's not a cause for delay as much as it is real-time feedback. And I'll let these folks come in and fill in anything beyond that.
Sure. At least the fleet that we need to operate our roughly 700 trips a day is with a 10% cushion, comes to that 282 total. That's what we need of the combination. So the balance, as the governor said, if you do the math, if we look on where we're doing roughly 20 vehicles a month, now we need to do 6. But those 6 are in our surplus. So we still have some of those different units, different models that we may have to mix and match over the coming months. But you'll see the vehicle availability will not be the issue after the next few months once we start ramping back up. So the test, as far as the testing, that'll be doing a lot of it at night. There may be on weekends. We may want to be very heavy on testing, so may try to gear it. But we'll be able to do that testing in a way that minimizes the impact on our regular service.
So I want to close with a comment Kevin just alluded to that Kevin and Diane and I have spoken about. One question which was embedded, Elise, in your question and some of the other ones is what's the magic of 282? And that's an important point to make here, I think. 282 is the agreed upon, this is what we need to run the runs we need to run every day. So not only is the math more attractive when you say 282 over 11 months versus 150 over 24 and a half months, but as Kevin just alluded to, and this is a big point, that the 150 are by definition in surplus. So you're already in a different and better place. I want to thank Diane and Kevin. I want to thank Congressman Pascrell and Ceres, to all of the extraordinary mayors and elected representatives today. Ray, to you and your ATU brothers and sisters, to Ron and the NJ Smart brothers and sisters, to each and every one of you guys back there, ladies, who make the show go every day. Thank you all and congratulations.